Good evening, beloved. This is another chapter in my book. Just the audio cliff note of a chapter of my book, and that's what I make. I'm making audio cliff notes of the chapters of my books, and this one is entitled "The Connection Between the XX and the XY." And when I say the XX and the XY, I am speaking of the chromosomes at this particular time. And I'm not talking about mammals, I'm talking about humans. According to some scientists, they say that we are mammals. But, you know, that's questionable through me, and I can break down the science of why I'm not a mammal. If anything, a mammal might be me, but I'm not a mammal. So now let's start now. I'm going to give you a little view real quick in case those who don't really know what an XX and XY chromosome looks like. The XX chromosome denotes female, or the feminine force, or the gender of the feminine gender. The XY represents the male gender. Now here I have the Y in small caps. The Y is in small caps because when they look at it under a microscope, that is the shape that that chromosome takes, or the genome of that chromosome takes, and that is the shape that the X takes. So they just name it the XY. But it's kind of, you know, intelligence has a way of teaching you and lead you right into something deeper than what you even think you understand. But the Y is small there because it's recessive. It's not dominant. You can't take that Y nowhere and dominate that X. It can't be a coefficient to the X, because now we're going to deal with algebra. We're going to deal with algebra to break down some science on why we must yield to the feminine God force or the woman God force of forces. Now, since that Y can't be used as a coefficient at all, then that means it can never dominate or rule or have the X submit to it, because that's not natural. That's not math. And life is mathematics, right? And I'm showing you a little science mixed with mathematics. So now you understand why a male should not be ruling a female. Now, although it be it, according to some science that I've read, a male can possess the XX chromosome. So that kind of makes me retract some of my opinion regarding that gay people say they're born gay. And I used to say, well, you don't even remember when you were born, so how do you know you was born gay? Now they say it not scientifically understanding what they're saying, but something is making them say that. Their self is reminding them of themselves in the womb. So I have no qualms, or I shouldn't have any beefs with anybody saying they was born gay. It's not natural though. Let's get that straight. That means that you have two X chromosomes and you came out in XY. So now you have three X's and one Y. So guess what that makes you? That makes you have a mental illness, which is called a syndrome. You have a syndrome, which means your chromosomes either multiplied or something happened with your chromosomes that made you born a male with female chromosomes or female tendencies. So yeah, you can't help it mentally, because it's a mental illness. And they have medicine for things like that, like stay away from same gender, and you won't have to feed into that disease. Just be, you can have gay tendencies, but you don't have to be homosexual. That's a behavior or a symptom of your disease, your syndrome. Both the undercovers and the on surface. you have this. So if you're confused as to why you left your wife and you rather go with Johnny or Ronnie versus Susie, or you want to play the double sides, it's because you have that syndrome. You have this XXY syndrome. And it's causing a lot of problems, a lot of diseases, because it spreads. But fortunately for you, you can only give this chromosome to the X, and this chromosome will denote if this child is going to be this, the XX or XXY. That's all it does, is it makes a predetermination on what type of human or mankind that this particular entity that it needs for the rest of its life is gonna use. Now, if it produces another XY, then that XY that it produces is gonna be another male, which is a dominant recessive chromosome trait. If it produces an XX, it's producing a dominant XX. With a dominant X, a dominant X over here and a recessive Y. So it cannot produce dominant absent of itself after it. It can't stand alone. The X can stand alone. And just so happen, if your X females can be born XY or XXY. But that too is a syndrome, a mental illness. And then when I say syndrome, think of Down syndrome. It's a chromosome split somewhere, and it's an extra chromosome, or you minusing the chromosomes, or halfway in between the connection of your chromosomes, midway through, there were some issues that took place. So, why am I showing you that short presentation? Because according to Yacub's theory, he wanted to get the recessive out of an individual, create a recessive, have that recessive dominate the dominant, rule the dominant, have the dominant submit to it, have the dominant worship it, have the dominant subject itself to it, have the dominant a slave to it. Simple mathematics. He wanted to take the XX, subtract it from the subtract the XY from the XX, make it stand alone, and thus you have the X small y. You have a dominant and a recessive. But what he's done is he's taken a small y and put it as a coefficient. That's not natural. That's the glitch in life. When you take the small y, and I'm saying small because it's recessive, because we're offshoots from the dominant, which makes us recessive mankind or humans. Because the Y chromosome, although the Y chromosome determines the sex of a child, the X chromosome is what gives the Y testes. If it wasn't for the X chromosome, you would not be having sex, because you wouldn't have testes. You wouldn't be able to reproduce. So the X still is your reason for reproducing. So this X didn't come from this rib. This section right here is the rib. Let me show you. This right here, this X did not come from this rib. And this is a subponent or subjection to this coefficient. And this can't even be a full coefficient because this ain't even a full variable. This is a sub variable. So this is what we're working with. This is an incomplete female called male. That must always have the female if it wants to survive. Now, if you take this X and you add it to this XY, you should have balanced, harmony, and peace. But if you take this xy and put it before this xx, and then take the y and put it a coefficient in front of the x, put a y as a coefficient in front of, put a y here and a coefficient in front of x, that's the Adam's theory. That the small y came before the big X. That the recessive came before the dominant. I don't think Mendel stated that theory. Mendel's theory was you can get the recessive from the dominant, but in retrospect you cannot get the dominant from the recessive. Just like black, which is not a color. You can get all colors from the essence of black. I mean, black is the essence of all colors, and all colors come from black because black is dominant. Plain and simple. Black is a dominant color, and all colors, it produces all colors, and the most recessive of colors is white on the color spectrum. Anything can hit white and just destroy it because it's that recessive. But you can't go and paint a wall black and think you're going to come and paint some white over it. You're going to have to do some priming. So what you're trying to do is tell me that the small y is supposed to be rooted in the x. Well, science and math does not say that. Science and math does not say that the x is supposed to submit and worship the y. If anything, it's the y survival that causes the x's dominance, what causes the y to even exist and continue to exist. Because if you notice, the XX can stand alone and still be here, which means that there were females here before males even were added to the equation. And the only reason why males were added to the equation is to protect the X. To protect the X until the small y become a big Y. And when it becomes a big Y, then you have love. Because now it's balance, harmony, and peace. But without it, if it's the other way around, you have division. You have patriarchs. You have kings, rulers, and dictators. If it's the other way around, if the Y is in front of the X. This is the goddess Ma'at over here. She don't need none of them. But she told them, and she also told her representatives of her, that they must follow 42 principles to create balance, peace, and harmony. But someone came along the line, according to some theologians, Yacub came along and manifested that reality where the Y goes before the X in all aspects. Thus, we have a structure that some call the white supremacy. And I want to humbly input that it's also black supremacy. Because it's black churches running that same structure. Black mosques, black temples, black synagogues, if there is such a thing. Running that same structure, and yet you wonder why we're in the situation that we're in today. Because we won't yield to that feminine God force that created us, the universal womb. XX is universal. Go to any place in the universe and you're going to find the XX running things. We ain't up under the universal law. We up under man's law. And that ain't even being religious. That's just keeping it real. And we looking for solutions in the conscious community. When it's a fraternity, there's no more. And all of you practice Egyptology. Because we're going to start at the very root. Where's Ma'at in your organization? You got one sprinkled somewhere? And if she is, she ain't on the front scene because don't nobody know about her. She ain't on every one of your shows. Every time your big head come on the show, she ain't there with you. And also, Mayat means bring your wife sometime to these shows, or whoever you date or in a relationship with, because it should be only one, unless you're practicing polygamy. And I've only seen one brother come close to pulling that off in the quote-unquote conscious community. I've seen. I'm not saying it doesn't exist and it's not successful, but I've only seen one that's close. But then again, everything that glitter ain't gold. What you see on the outside, I know for a fact it ain't going down like that. The brother don't made that confession himself, indirectly. So we got to yield to that God force. And I'm just going to be as simple. I mean, I can get deeper and deeper into science and chromosomes and explain to you the syndromes and what the syndromes mean and how they came about. And I can go into all that, but that's your time to research, to enlighten yourself. I just want to give you a base, a little clip note to explain my premise further, that we must yield to this God force and manifested in a female. Our woman, our women, our girls, yield. The Y, you're small, you can even be a big. When you're a small Y, you're a baby. But when you become a big Y, you don't become a king, you become a prince. A prince of peace, balance, and harmony. Quit trying to be a king. Quit trying to be a God until you understand the true God. You got to know the true God. You say know thyself, well, that's yourself. If you don't know her, then you don't know yourself. Because that's where all the information coming from. You don't have enough information, little Y's, us. I'm a little Y. We don't have enough information. We need to go to them for the information, because that's where it comes from. That's the dominant, that's the root of civilization. The woman, she was there before the male came into it. The male was added on after her. And that's why she's the XX. And she's always in front of the Y. Even though the Y determines the gender according to science. She's there. So I'm just saying this because I know some of you men, you will never wrap your mind around us yielding to the God force in a woman. Because you can't. Because you're up under the YX rule. You're up under Yacub's theory. You're one of Yacub's children or students. You're an experiment. And his experiment is working through you, whether you know it or not. And this ain't racist. Just look at yourself. Are you worshiping the woman? Are you looking at her as divine? Are you abusing this God force, this X, this God force? Come on. What are we doing? Are we elevating it higher? Because if this small Y elevates this X only makes the Y bigger and better. But this Y can't get better without this X getting better. Because the Y goes as the X goes. The X don't go as the Y goes. The Y goes as the X goes. But Yacub's theory has switched it up, and now the X is following the Y. And then, according to the Greek letter alphabet, X comes before Y. I mean, that's just basic common sense 101. Now let's go even different. Let's deal with something natural in nature. Let's take the herb. Let's take the herb marijuana, right? And anybody who's a gardener of their own marijuana, they kind of will understand. But, you know, a lot of people smoke weed and they really don't even understand the science of it because they use it to get out of this world of hell, which I don't blame them. Anything that will help you escape this temporary death-like state of existence that we're in, where we up under Yacub's theory, his 6,100-year theory that has just been debunked. But it's just the beginning of debunking. The Y can't make the X wake up and realize that she's an XX. The Y can't do that. It's gonna take this, the addition, and it's gonna take an XX force multiplied with XX forces to turn the Yacub's theory back in reverse. That's called bottom-up programming, not top-down. Because everybody want to go to the top. Nobody don't want to be at the bottom, at the root, at the foundation. Everybody going up the pyramid, but you don't realize that that eye that you see on the pyramid, I know you've been taught a lot of things about it, but that eye only says I am. It don't say I am that I am. It don't say I was. I am the burning bush. No, it's just I'm. I, not the letter I, but an I. Seeing everything that's going on. And it has not been sealed yet, but it's falling. That ship is falling. That top capstone, the supreme intelligence, the eye of Horus, that's coming down. And when that comes down, the age of Aquarian will take off in unprecedented amounts of speed. You will see people so drunk with knowledge, giving out knowledge any way they can. That's why I advise everybody, start your own Bible. Don't be like Jesus, quote unquote, and let Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, and Paul talk about what he did when they lying like hell. They wasn't there. Because it's nowhere in hell that story is accurate, because they wasn't there. I mean, it's like when we were young and we used to go on trips. You know, families don't really do this as much anymore, but we used to pile up in the car, about 7 deep in a car, and this was 2 doors back then. But we were 7 deep, some sitting on the floor, and then you have your 2 or 3 more family members. You get up 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody leave to go upstate or, you know, to Indiana, Chicago, wherever, you know, Alabama. You going to travel once a year, summer vacation, to meet your family, have a great time, because we was family back then. But just so happened, while we on the road, we go by a store, get something to eat, and when we're pulling out, we go to a 4-way stop sign. The car in front of us, my aunt, your aunt, this is just an analogy, pull out and boom, she didn't even see the other car coming. The other car hit them, but just so happened the car that hit them, guess what? They headed to Oklahoma, and they got a car following them. So they seen the accident, we seen the accident, and we get out. The first thing you do is you show compassion. That's the first thing you do, is show compassion. Well, you show compassion for your own first, because you biased. So when you show compassion for your own first, after you show compassion for your own, then you go check on the next entity or entities. But your own comes first, because you biased. They came first, the other people, they went and checked on their own, and then everybody met up, everybody okay. Because they wasn't going to 5 miles per hour, just a little fender bender. But it's $400 worth of damage on one car, and $800 of damage on the other car. So guess who got to come out? The regime to say who's at fault. So what the regime got to do? The regime got to go to everybody that's seen the accident. Can't leave out one person. Everybody got to go. So now we got the Carter family, the ones going upstate. Somebody finna get a ticket. Who are they going to be biased to? They going to get their version of the story according to the way they want to give their version of the story to help their situation out. In retrospect, the other family going to do the same thing. And not only that, so now when the police hear or he see the bias, because that's what he's supposed to be checking for, biasness. So now he got to pull them apart and ask them, oh, what happened? Yeah. And it's 7 of them that seen it. And that was from the cars behind, because he didn't want people in the car. He wanted the people that was behind. So guess how many stories you're going to get? 7 different stories. 7 different versions. 7 different Bibles. 7 different philosophies. 7 different opinions. 7 different lies. 7 different truths. You're going to get all of that. And you want me to believe you? So the police can't make that determination. The regime got to take it to court. Tell y'all, I'm going to give you the ticket because I don't like the Carters. Because I'm biased to the Carters because the Carters don't look like me. So I'm going to give you the ticket. You go to court and fight it. Carters. So that's how it go. You listen to Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John, and Paul. And Paul was a mass murderer. Just like the guy in the church who went and killed people in South Carolina. Mass murderer of quote-unquote Christians. And guess what they did? Same thing that y'all doing. Y'all forgiving Paul and using all his quotes and his principles and his logic, which is a bunch of garbage. Because Paul was evil. Any God that will forgive somebody for killing his children after they hung his child, we don't need to follow that God nowhere. I wouldn't. You can. That's fine. I don't knock that. Because I don't want to disrespect your deity. But I will say that's fine. Paul don't know what he was talking about. Paul ain't like Jesus. According to the story now. If you study the story. And don't take everything literal. Use the allegories and understand the allegories, the parallel, the symbolism, the parables. Get into the science of it. But first you got to understand who in the hell telling the story. And when did they get news of the story? 500 years ago, and you think you got an accurate story when the people that had the accident, they couldn't even get it together within 20 minutes? Their stories don't even match, but you got it. And everybody got to use your story to live by. And then your story is a new story. Not the same old story. It's a new story out of nowhere. You know, your God, your entity said, I changed my mind. We'll do it like this. We'll just do something new. Let's try this. And then he came along and he said, you know what, angels or angelic beings, let's create the Yacub's theory. Let's try the Yacub. Let's create man. Let's make the XY. Let's do that. But what I want y'all to do, because I know y'all gonna ask me, y'all gonna ask me, what would I create? Why would I create this man? Because all they're gonna do is create blood and shit. They're gonna have gangs. They're gonna be killing each other. They're gonna create wars and rumors of wars, and they're just gonna destroy the planet with male dominance. So why would you do this, entity? And you know what he told them? I know what you know now. So of course they said, well, it is what it is. But don't forget, we know who XX is. We just peeping you, checking you out. You want to make your man? Boom, there's your atoms. And y'all might be Adamites. But see, the XX is an atomite, A-T-O-M-I-T-E. And she produces small atomites, not Adamites. You make yourself an Adamite by following Yacub's theory, followed by Adam's theory. It's all a theory. Adam is a theory. Don't be an Adam. Female, don't be an Eve. Eve was an XX and still is an XX. But Eve is not a person. Eve is a day, a dark time in our history. Because all this coming to pass. Because according to the story, Jesus said somebody was coming to lead you in all truth. And not somebody, but something. Intelligence. Intelligence will lead you into all truth if you just ask for it and sit down and do what Solomon did. And Sheba, they asked for wisdom. That's what Solomon told Sheba when she went there after he did what he did, which wasn't good according to some stories. And she still, she went back, but she understood that it was wisdom. that Solomon asked for. That's why he had all what he had. Not only that, it was in his lineage, and he was part of the quote-unquote royal kinghood. So until we reverse or transverse this theory, this Yacub's theory, this Adamite theory, we in trouble. Because the XX is in the winds. Just because you're white don't mean you're strong. You might be physically strong in some areas, but still that X, if she put her mind with her physicality, she's stronger than you. And oh, you know, girls stronger than me. Go play Serena Williams in 2 sets, because that's all it's going to take. Go out, maneuver physics like Dominique Dawes. You don't remember that, do you? Get in the ring with Layla Ali. It won't last. I advise you to try to fight my mama. Now you looking at a fight. And you better be ready to fight to the end. Because she coming and she gonna keep on coming. I know this. Because she a lioness. You see that Sphinx, excuse me, is supposed to be protecting the woman's planet. It ain't supposed to be ruling. Somebody say that lion is the king of the jungle. Which one? Because there's a lot of lions in the jungle. One of them all of them can't be the king. Can only be one king in the jungle. If I'm got a king, right? Because 2 kings can't rule at the same time. Somebody got to submit to the next king. So it's not that he's the king of the jungle. He's protecting Mother Earth. So you ain't getting away with nothing. And he's trying to let you know that that's what a lion does. It's a protector, but it's a wise protector. That's why the man's face is on you. Because you're supposed to be a wise protector of the X chromosome, that which created you. Because guess what created a lion? It came from a lioness. Thank you for listening, and I hope this kind of helped my premise that we must yield to the God force manifested in a woman, or the woman God force of forces. I just think it's imperative that we just use common sense based on nature. The marijuana plant, it will not produce buds that are good for nutrition if the male plant is around. The male plant, if it courts with the female plant, it will produce a hermaphrodite. And I'm not talking about human organs, but it'll produce a hermaphrodite, half X, half Y, or half female plant, half male plant, which is an offshoot of the XX or the female plant. You gotta move them. You gotta get them from by. The female marijuana plant don't want really nothing to do with the male plant. It just drops the seed and here come a male out of nowhere. Boom! So you have to separate it. And so that's why people buy feminized marijuana seeds, because that's where the potency and the nutrients in the things that cure cancer lies. The male plant can't cure cancer. It doesn't create that kind of THC. So the male plant is just a recessive plant. The male marijuana plant is a recessive plant. It ain't good for nothing but looking at it and adoring it and taking care of it. But it can't bring you nutrients. It can't cure you. It can't give you the answers. It can't help you tap into your inner self like the female plant. It calm your nerves maybe a little bit, but to what extent? But now that's plant life. That's the plant kingdom. Gave you the human kingdom, I gave you the plant kingdom. You go study the mammal kingdom. But that ain't even important to me. You know. y'all say y'all came from monkeys, y'all got 48 chromosomes. I don't know how that happened. You know, you're only supposed to have 46, but at some point you have 48. But that's cool. If you want to be a monkey, be a monkey. You can be a monkey's uncle if you want to. Monkey brother, monkey sister, whatever you want to be a monkey. Yeah, say you evolved from monkeys. But when you know you're not even from here, when you know you're just a visitor, and you came visiting, and your vessel that you came to visit was the black woman. Yeah, I gotta be frank. And black only means original. That was the vessel, that's the original spaceship. For y'all who believe and waiting on the mothership, it's not called fathership, it's called mothership for a reason. But I can tell you this, and I'm gonna leave it like this, and I'm gonna let you think about it. All those people that you think, the 144,000, the saved, the elite class, the hereafters, and all of that, they already on that ship. And you on that ship too, and you don't even know it. That ship is an unseen device, and the earth is a mothership. So anybody think the Asiatics, they came and they built their little ship, they ain't got nothing on what the earth can do. The earth can take the mothership out with a piece of wind. This her home. Ain't nobody destroying nothing. Ain't nobody ruling nothing. Ain't nobody running nothing. Here, she protect her inhabitants if her inhabitants submit to what she submits to. Her and the sun work together. That her and the sun are nuclear partners. Iran and Russia and all the people with nuclear weapons, you know, you ain't seen a negotiation of a nuclear deal, a nuclear pact like the earth got with the sun. Ready to knock all so-called motherships out the air, all so-called UFOs, all so-called B-52 stealth bombers, all rockets, all drones. That won't even last 15 minutes. This is a magnetic place, and it's so magnetic that all recessive are going to be coming to face its originator, and it's going to be a crash landing when you come back to face your originator. So I advise you right now to slow the speed down, because you're going to crash into mother, the universal womb, and she going to ask you one question: why didn't you respect me? And what's going to be your answer? Because he told me that. He said, how about trying to be I am? I am. That's it. Not I am that I am. Just be I am. Just be I am what my mama made me. And that's the protector of women. And if I protect women, respect them, elevate them, they'll make me a prince. It's shining out. Thank you. Have a good evening.